What's up? What's up, YouTube? This is obviously a tough day. As Roy Halladay passed away today in a small plane crash. He was one of his passions was flying, and he had a private small plane. He actually just bought a new plane in October, and that's the plane that unfortunately crashed in the Gulf of Mexico today. Um, we all know I make these videos in this channel for the Eagles. Um, I'm a 4 for 4 guy here. I know a lot of times, some people, my coworkers or whatever, they always question it because I do like other players and other teams, but on other teams or whatnot. But my heart's with the Philadelphia teams has always been. And I make the season of the fan series for the Philadelphia Eagles, and I love doing that. I've always said of the 4 teams, the Eagles are probably my. If I had to be pinned down and say which one is my favorite of the 4, is the Eagles. That was the first team that I really started to follow in Philly. But I've gone to Phillies games since I was a little kid, little runt there at Veterans Stadium, confusing the Expos with the Astros because it always seemed Phillies were either playing the Expos or the Astros. I always thought it was the same team. And I've always liked the Phillies, and most of my life they haven't been very good. Obviously, last place finishes and tough seasons rebuilding after rebuilding. But they had that great run in obviously '93, but then for the 5-year span from '07 to 2012, I believe. And after they went to the World Series and won it in '08 and went back in '09, that winter after losing to the Yankees in '09, they won in '08 against Tampa Bay, obviously, and then they lost to the Yankees in '09. And then that winter in '09, they made a signing, and it was Roy Halladay. And obviously, one of the disappointments right after that is that they traded Cliff Lee away. But you talk about a player who, was the right fit for the right town and the right team, and that was Roy. His bulldog mentality on the mound, the passion he played with. The guy was a winner, and his mentality fit this mentality of this town to a T. And you talk about some players going to certain teams and are just the right fit for that city, and that was Roy Halladay. And not only was he a great ball player, but he was a great human being. He's a great man. And it's a sad day, obviously, when anyone passes away. And we always say, well, why do the good ones always go so young? He was 40 years old. And the saying is God has a plan for everybody. But it almost seems unfair. And he was a great ball player. That year, that first year here, we'll always remember it. 20-game winner, Cy Young, pitched a perfect game in Florida against the Marlins on the eve of the Flyers, playing in the Stanley Cup Finals. Game 1 in Chicago, boy, what a memorable night that was. Unfortunately, it didn't go well for the Flyers, but Halladay pitches a perfect game that night. First ever playoff appearance in his career. He throws a no-hitter right here, in Philly in Citizens Bank Park against a pretty good hitting Reds team. They go on to win that series, and obviously they lose to the Giants, who went on to win the World Series. The irony is the last playoff game he ever pitched was that fateful Game 5 against the Cardinals after the Phillies won 102 games in the regular season and lost to the Cardinals. He gives up 1 run. And if the wind was blowing out that night, they would have won that game because I believe Ibanez hit a ball that should have been gone. Utley hit a ball off the wall, off the top of the wall. It's just unfortunate how that kind of fell apart. But the irony is, and I'll never forget, is he lost, I believe, to Carpenter that night. And Carpenter was a former teammate. Came up with the Blue Jays with Roy Halladay, if I remember correct. And it's just the irony of that situation, But the guy, even when he wasn't at his best the next season, he pitched every game like it was Game 7 of the World Series. That's how he always played. And I know that the Phillies fans, we only saw him briefly for a few years. He gave us great years, though. But we only saw him briefly. And I know it's hurting here, but I know it's hurting in Toronto, too. Because those fans saw him throughout most of his career. He pitched on teams that finished last place, never made the playoffs, but the guy pitched every game like it mattered. Like I said, like it was Game 7 of the World Series. He was an innings eater. He was one of those throwback type players that you just don't see enough of anymore. He never wanted to get the ball out of his hand. He wanted to always finish what he started. And he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day, and I know he'll go in as a Blue Jay, and rightfully so. He came up through the organization there. He pitched most of his career with the Blue Jays. He retired as a member of the Blue Jays, which was a class move in itself by him. But I know, and the thing I always remember about Halladay, and they were talking about today, is how much he embraced this town when he came here from day one. You know, here's a guy that most of his career he played in Canada, he played in Toronto, and he meant the world to the fans there. And you know, he was a fixture in that community, and how much that community meant to him. But from day one coming to this town, he embraced it. He was never sour about free agency and about the movie. Oh, why didn't Toronto want to keep me or anything like that? He embraced being a Philly. He embraced playing for this town. He embraced this town and the fans. And like I said, he pitched the way these fans care about their teams. And sometimes we get overly criticized for having too much passion. But we care about these teams. And that man pitched every game here, just like he did in Toronto, but every game here with all of his emotion and all of his heart and all of his talent. And he won a lot of games here. And it goes beyond the winning. It went to what he did for this community and the charities that he started and all that he brought, with him and his family, of course. And he embraced being a Philadelphian, and obviously he was a player that we all enjoyed watching. Yeah, he was a great pitcher, and he won a lot of games and a no-hitter and a perfect game. But his attitude, not wanting to get the ball out of his hand when Charlie Manuel would go to the mound in the seventh or eighth inning. That's just the blue collarness of that is just what this city's always been about. And that's what I'll always remember Roy Halladay for. Not just, on the mound and winning games and all the great times we had watching him, but I'll always remember him as the man, as the person. And he was going to go on to do some great things, after his baseball life was done, after his baseball career was done. I mean, he was pitching one of his sons. He was coaching one of his sons, who's probably going to be a great pitcher someday, like his old man. And all the things he was doing at animal rescues, dog rescues, everything that he wanted to put his name on, he wanted it to mean something, and he wanted to leave that legacy, and that's what he leaves behind. My heart and thoughts and prayers go out to the family, to his wife, and to his two sons. Maybe, his son will pitch in the majors one day. Maybe he'll wear number 34 or number 32. And we'll always, have fond memories. And you know what? I hope his son does go into the leagues and have a great career like his old man did. Not just as a baseball player, but as a person. But thoughts and prayers obviously go out to the whole Halladay family. My thoughts and prayers are out to obviously the communities that he touched, including our own, to Toronto. I know it's a tough day there too. I know Hometown Fitteds, he was the biggest Roy Halladay fan I ever knew. And I know he doesn't make the videos that he once did, but he's a Blue Jay fan through and through. He lives in that area, and Roy Halladay was his favorite player. And when the thing is, and I know what it was for Hometown Fitteds, it was for all the Blue Jay fans. When Roy Halladay came to the Phillies and had that success, they couldn't be happier for him. And they cheered him just as we cheered him. And I remember having the Facebook message conversations with Hometown Fids, and he was always about oh, you got a great one there. We're so happy for the success he's having. We're happy he's finally going to be in the playoffs, and hopefully he wins another World Series for you guys. And, we're cheering for him too. And, that shows just how much the man meant to that community. And even here, the longing, we didn't see him for for nearly as long as the fans in Toronto did. But he left that mark here that the special people leave in the community, even when they're not a part of it, that we always remember what they did, and on and off the field or of play. And that says a lot about the person. There just isn't enough athletes like a Roy Halladay anymore. Not enough pitchers that want to keep the ball. And we live in an age, and particularly in the playoffs, where starters might go 3-4 innings and then it goes to the bullpen. I mean, you have some pitchers out there, Madison Bumgarner, Clayton Kershaw, um, John Lester. I mean, there are pitchers that just want that ball the full 9 innings, until their arm falls off. And but there's that. Unfortunately, we live in an age where that just isn't the case too much, because there's a lot of other forces at play. Bullpens expand, analytics, this, that, the other thing. But I'll tell you what, Roy Halladay was one of those pitchers that you couldn't take the ball away from him, no matter what the score was. He wanted to finish the game, and we commend him for that here, because that's the type of attitude that Philly fans have, the people in this community have, and I know it's the same in Toronto. And you talk about, again, I talked about a player that fit where he played, and that was Roy Halladay. He fit playing for Toronto. He fit playing for Philadelphia. And I will always cherish the memories of watching him pitch here in Phillies pinstripes, or not pinstripes, in a Phillies uniform. What he meant, here. It was great seasons. They were fun years. Yeah, they didn't end in championships when he was here, unfortunately. Not his fault. You give up one run in a game, you should win that game, Game 5 against St. Louis. Unfortunately, the offense couldn't get some runs there for him. But even in that game, the man was such a bulldog. I think he had the bases loaded with nobody out at one point. He got out of it late in the game. I mean, just tremendous. Tremendous. And I know his last year here, he was battling some injuries. He wasn't quite the pitcher that he was when he first came here, but he still, every game, he would not use that as an excuse. He went out there to finish what he started every game, and it's commendable. So again, very saddened to hear that news today. Um, the world lost a good one at a much too young age, only a year older than me. 40 years old. I'll be 40 in next August. Much too young. Many, many great years were ahead of him. I really, again, my thoughts and prayers go out to the family, to his wife, to his kids, to the extended family. It's a horrible thing. It really is. But I do want to I wanted to make this video here just to kind of give my thoughts on Roy Halladay, and you know, again, it's been a tough year for the Phillies family. It really has been. I mean, Dallas Green, um, Jim Bunning, Darren Dalton, and now Roy Halladay. It's been a tough year, but you know what? Four great men, and most recently Halladay, and again, a sad day, a sad night, and we'll always have those memories. Though I think the one good thing is, you'll always have memories, and the good things, not just what he did on the mound, but how many people he touched, with the charities, with the work. Just reaching out to the fans and giving them a minute of his time and talking to people. I remember there was a story in Philly where there was some sort of auction where you can go to lunch with Roy Halladay and at Citizens Bank Park, and just talk to him for an hour. And whoever who won that lunch, I remember they just were talking about. I never believed just how what a down to earth person he was. Because we think of athletes as these larger than life people, we always forget that they're people. Just like us. And I remember just hearing the story of that after that lunch was had. The person just was glowing and about just Roy Halladay wanted to talk about all sorts of things, not just baseball. About life. But that's the type of person he was, and I know here we'll always wear his uniform with pride, and I know in Toronto they'll always wear that number 32 uniform with pride, and I think we were lucky, both Toronto and Philly, to have watched the man pitch, and also to have him in the community and be a part of our community. So yes, rest in peace to Doc. They got another good one up there now, and unfortunately was taken way too soon here. But maybe he's serving a purpose up there now. And thank you for those great years. As a Phillies fan, we don't have too many great years with this team. They've struggled, for most of the years that I can remember watching them. But that 5-year run was amazing. Even though it only ended in one title, I'll still take it all day. I'll remember that parade, and I'll remember the great times that we had, and of course watching that man pitch. The latter end of those years was something special, and so I'm very thankful for that at least. All right, everyone. Well, sometimes it's tough to come on here with a heavy topic. I know I always try to keep it light, and with the season of the fan and now with the PS4 games and with jersey collecting or what have you. But being a Philly sports fan, I just felt and not only that, just knowing what was lost today, I just felt that I would come and make a video on that, and I hope you can all understand that. Okay, everyone. Well, thanks for watching. And again, rest in peace to a great person in Doc. And I'll see you all around the channel.